We're live. Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good
Welcome to the Daily
morning.
Whatever. I'm Lawrence Winterman,
I
joined by the
didn't.
lovely Dana Dubois. Sorry,
Hello.
I spoke over you, Dana.
It's okay. It's you. You have my permission. You can always speak over me. What you're saying is probably more interesting, anyways.
That is definitely not true. Everybody knows that's not true. Uh, I usually defer to your wisdom on all things because I've learned over 47 years that Dana knows best in most things. It's just true.
Oh, you are too kind. I don't believe that for a minute. Especially not in these trying times, Lawrence.
I
As you
mean,
demonstrated yesterday, you are the man. You are a man of many eloquent words.
you almost made me sing Taylor Swift there.
Which song?
The man.
Oh, you can if you want to go for it.
I mean, I don't know. I did not have a great night's sleep last night. Yesterday was a day. Uh,
I'd like to first point out that we called it. We were like, today is a day when we should all just get back into bed. Shit isn't working right. What the hell is going on today?
yeah, I just gotta say good morning, everybody. And oh my God, somebody whose handle is Chin Up Buttercup just joined the chat, and I'm thrilled to see you because yeah, Chin Up Buttercup. I did not sleep great last night. Chin Up Buttercup.
Yeah, I love that username.
Get over it.
Right. Suck it up.
Suck
I,
it up, baby.
I have a piece of art from a local, actually, she was a local artist here. She's since moved back to Stockholm. It was Frida Clement. Now it's Frida Melander, I think is how she says her name. Anyhow, she does a lot of show posters, really beautiful line art. And I have one that it says, suck it up, just suck it up. And then there's a picture of a hummingbird with a flower. That's the
Aw.
drawing. And I love it because of the double meaning of like, suck it up, man. Just, it's a very Gen X thing to say, right? Just,
Yeah.
you got to do what you got to do. But it's also suck the sweetness out.
Mmm. You know,
Right.
I love a good double or triple entendre.
We all love the
Entendre.
Wow.
I saw Rich join. So Rich, my bad French was for you. Double entendre.
Oui.
Oui.
Mas, oui. I took Spanish. Sorry, friend. Sorry, friend. Sorry, Rich. I'm never going to be good at French. I can't speak French. I can't understand French.
Oh my God. Kat
So
just said, I feel like I have an emotional hangover from yesterday. Yes, Kat. Yes, 1,000,000,000%. I am
so we're here
so
in
fucking hungover from yesterday.
Same, Lawrence.
Good God.
Here's like the curse, the blessing and curse of Gen X is like we've seen it enough to be like, oh, the usual players are gonna fucking come out. And sure enough, like they're the people who were like, the dude is dead, good. The dude deserved it. And then there's the leftist apologists, which that may be too harsh of a term, but there's this very like, oh my God, we can't celebrate the death of anybody or we'll be in trouble. And then of course the people on the right are screaming their heads off about this is somehow the faults of the Democrats, which we knew it was going to happen, even though that makes literally no sense at all. And then we have people screaming about free speech. My favorite is on Facebook. The free speech one came from a Facebook person who I finally just blocked this morning because she led with, I don't know anything about the person killed today, but free speech. And if you don't, if you're at all championing for this, you just don't believe in free speech. And I'm like, you're being so tone deaf.
Well, tone deaf
That's so
and
simplistic and
like,
tone deaf.
tell me in your first line that you just should shut up and not comment on what's happening. Like,
So many people led with, I don't know who this Charlie Kirk guy is. I'm like, ask your teenagers and
right.
your young adults in your life.
Yeah. Right. Fusen says
Right.
words have consequences. He got his. I mean,
Yeah. Free
you,
speech.
right. You noted, many other people noted, but to me at least, you were the first person to really point out the unbelievable irony of the fact that he was
Me or
Lit
Fusen?
you,
Yes,
Dana, sorry,
it's okay.
that he was speaking about gun violence at the moment he was assassinated through gun violence. Like, I, I yeah, I mean, I tried very hard yesterday to not be flip about any of this and to manifest empathy and compassion, and I really do feel compassion. I kind of don't know where it comes from because I hated Charlie Kirk. Like, I don't like the man. Um,
Didn't like the man.
no, I mean, I didn't.
Verb
Yes.
tense. Verb tenses matter.
Yeah, tenses matter. And I'm not happy that he's dead. I'm not happy that he's dead in this way. And um but yeah, like the irony really is like, I'm a Dem in Utah. Wow, he fucked around and found out. The irony was uncanny. It really is, like you said this yesterday, Dana, like you, you just have to stop and kind of admire the irony for a minute of like how rarely in history do we have
Yes.
something so, like, you know being questioned on gun violence, making it an opportunity to punch down on transgender and black people, and death, by the very instrument that you are trying to defend. Like that,
Yes.
it's breathtaking the way
It
that it happened
is.
like that.
And first of all, we're maybe going to talk about our writing today.
Right.
That's technically today's topic. Hello. There's no way we're not going to talk about this first. And there's so many different thoughts that were hitting my head yesterday and slightly different ones this morning. But I was thinking as I was getting ready this morning, Lawrence, of how you were very much seeing this as the empathetic human you are, which pin that word because we're going to come back to Charlie Kirk, who would not have wanted our empathy and blatantly called it a bunch of libtard nonsense.
Right.
But I approached it as a storyteller, and the fascinating, like everything that you just said there of like, how often does a comeuppance happen so blatantly? Again, if you wrote it in a script, it would be too obvious. You'd be like, God, you're just hammering it in. Really?
Right.
But if you look, I mean, so I do want to point out, I want to elevate some comments from the chat here. Walter, I'm sorry that you and Nick are getting death threats, first of all.
Yeah, that's
That's,
madness. I was gonna comment on that next.
yes. And
Um,
so we're sorry. And I hope we don't get any, Lawrence. If we do,
right.
okay.
And be safe. And
Yes.
we should probably talk as a larger community about what do you do? What do you do if you get death threats? I mean, I'm pretty sure if you contact the police, they're just like, yeah, come back to us when there's an actual armed, person trying to take you out.
Yes.
I don't know what we do as a community. We should probably talk about that.
We should. And I've been meaning to look into Delete Me, and now is probably as good a time as ever to download Delete Me and start using them. Yeah, Walter says if you repeat Charlie Kirk's words right now, people get mad.
Right.
And it's like, there's God, I have so many things to say and thoughts, and I should have really written them down. So I'm going to be ping-ponging all over the place. There was a quote from Pete Buttigieg, I believe when he was running for president in the primaries. There was around like, they're going to bad talk us anyway. So stop trying to accommodate the messaging or the feels of the folks on the other side of the political aisle. And I kept getting this visual in my head yesterday with some of like my friends on social media and some of the things I was seeing on Substack, of the sense of like, we're trying so hard not to inflame the other side of the aisle, that I was picturing my dog Kira, who, whenever she feels weird at all, rolls over on her back, like, rub my belly. I'm submissive. I'm not going to harm you. And I don't want to do that right now. It's okay to hold multiple thoughts and feelings about this. It's okay to be like, I fucking hate guns and gun violence because I do, to the core of my being. I don't want anyone being assassinated. And I want to talk about the word assassination today, too, in a minute, Lawrence, because why are we using that word when we don't use it for school shootings and other things? How do you define an assassination from just a killing?
Right.
Um, but for this feels like an assassination, the most ironic assassination that's ever happened. It's okay to feel those things. It's okay to feel no remorse at all that he's gone, or to be glad he's gone. The man did immense harm with his one rare and precious life. That influence being removed, I don't. Another head will grow in its place, but and it's okay to admire this sort of, or the beauty of. And I know that word is probably going to inflame some people, but from a storytelling perspective, that a man who his whole adult life, his purpose was to spread, extol gun violence. To say, what's that quote that's circulating everywhere? Like, this is the necessary evil. This is just what
Right.
happens. We have a reaping. He
Yeah.
essentially said that it's the price of our God-given freedoms to protect them that we
Yeah.
lose a few people.
Every year to gun violence for the sake of
Yeah.
keeping the Second Amendment.
Thanks for volunteering as tribute, Charlie.
Yeah, you you know this because you saw it. Last night Dana and I were having a dialogue, and you know, it's such a contradiction in my own body, right? That I do and did feel empathy in that moment, and also the irony is so great, and the anger is so large at what he did in his life. And I have confessed many times that I'm a frustrated graphic designer, that when Dana and I kind of had this exchange last night, I put together a meme, right, of that quote of him saying, I'm willing to accept the deaths of several people a year, at gun violence, so that we can keep the precious Second Amendment. And then the meme right underneath it of Katniss saying, I volunteer as tribute, but with Charlie Kirk's face on top of it. And I thought, fuck, I can't circulate this. This is horrible. But also, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, there's so many contradictions here. And yeah, like I'm save me, Dana. Let's say something smart, because obviously my brain is just spun out. Let me
Yeah,
drink more coffee.
sure. It is it's okay to hold multiple thoughts in your head, and it's okay to express uh that, we're not mourning for this one. I have no, I feel bad for his kids because they were dealt a very hard hand in life. I think his kids will be better off growing up without him. like this is a man who's so, he's the antithesis of everything I want the world, was the antithesis of everything I wanted the world to be. And so I and no matter what we do, no matter how many times we roll over on our backs and we're like, we just want peace. We're not a fan of guns. We mourn his life. Please don't come at us and say that this is going to be our fault. Like, Nancy Mace ran to the press and was like, my kids called me crying and this is the Democrats' fault.
Yeah,
And it's going to be spun this way. This is going to be the top story forever and ever, and how it's our fault. And look how we're gloating in it. We're like, there's not a single way I can twist this to say that this was our fault. The fact that we're not remorseful that he's gone doesn't make us culpable for his death in
yeah,
any way, shape, or form.
yes. That I think is
Pull that quote, Lawrence.
well said. Right? Yeah, you're going to
I
see that clip
mean,
later. That's really well
I
said.
I don't want anybody shot. I wish Charlie Kirk had had the same protections from senseless gun violence that I wish every American had. It's all I've wanted my whole adult life
Yeah,
when it comes to the Second Amendment. But Charlie Kirk spent his entire life fighting people like you and me
right.
to keep guns in the hands of everybody. So, I mean, Utah just passed open carry on college campuses. So, and he was there to talk about guns
Right.
and to blame, people of color and transgender people. Like, you can go search for that man's last words. They're published online, and I'm going to paraphrase. Someone asks, how many transgender, mass shootings have there been? And he said, too many. I believe there have been 3 in the history of all the things. And then they say, do you know how many mass shootings there are in America every year? And he said, well, are you accounting for gang violence? And there he went. And that was it.
Yeah.
Like, um, uh, to then somehow blame this on Democrats who are like, we want common sense gun laws. I mean, I wish we lived in a country where it was very difficult to get a gun. Very, very difficult. I don't want military grade guns in the hands of anybody. I don't care how fun they are to shoot. So but it's already here. Like immediately they were politicizing it. It's so telling. Everyone's talking about this of like, how it's being compared to all the other deaths. There was a high school shooting yesterday as
Right.
this was unfurling. So
Right.
don't come at me that we can do anything to stop the power of the media machine that is going to blame this on Democrats. It doesn't matter how much we roll over and show them our bellies to show we're peaceable. Like, I'm not peaceable about this. I want common sense gun laws. And also, Charlie Kirk's power and influence and legacy is immense and awful.
Right. Yeah. Opinionated Ogre said something about,
He's been so good.
you know, he compared him to Rush Limbaugh, right? He was like, here's the thing, like Rush Limbaugh died, and these several years later after his death, can you name one good thing that Rush Limbaugh stood for, advocated for? You cannot, right? Like Rush Limbaugh's legacy fades with time because he didn't actually do anything. He didn't produce anything good. The only thing that he did was sow discontent and strife and anger among the right wing. His legacy is only negative. Like if you are pressed to name one good thing that Rush Limbaugh advocated for, you cannot, because there isn't anything.
Well,
And
if you asked, conservative old men, they'd have a list.
sure, I
So,
mean that's the different worldview, right? But it
yes.
it it is the same. And I think Ogre's bigger point is like in the grand sweep of history, when all is said and done, Rush Limbaugh is going to be a footnote, right? And this guy will be a footnote. He will be a footnote about the irony, the extreme irony of his death and the damage that he caused during his life. No one is going to
Yes.
be, so yesterday on a live with Nick and Frederick, we were talking about this. We were processing it in real time. And, Nick and Frederick had started bringing up gun reform, right? Like that now is exactly the time for
Yes.
gun reform. And I kind of blurted out like we should call it the Charlie Kirk gun reform bill.
Yes, we
And
should.
we should, right? Like if we could get anything good out of this, let's propose a gun reform bill, gun control, name it after Charlie Kirk, and then dare the fucking Republicans in Congress to not vote for it, right?
Right.
Like that would be, if there were the tiniest chance that we could actually get some form of gun control legislation out of this as a result of Charlie Kirk's death, then let's use his legacy, whatever it is, uh, as um, as the opportunity to finally get
Yeah.
some piece of sensible, common sense gun reform passed in this country. Yeah, Nick says, or even the Charlie Kirk right to life bill. Sure, although I think that's gonna confuse people and make them think it's about abortion. But
Sorry, that name is, I didn't mean to laugh, Nick. That's funny though. Yeah.
yeah,
If you call it right to life, you might trick him into,
right,
signing
yeah,
it.
absolutely, right.
Right.
Yeah,
I,
it's like the saying, that I tried to put on a T-shirt, of, if only my uterus could shoot bullets, then the GOP would keep their hands off of it, right? I
mhm,
mean, not my uterus specifically, obviously, but
maybe
uteri, generally.
the editorial we of
The
uteruses.
editorial we of uteruses is,
Uteruses.
yeah,
Lawrence, I desperately wish we lived in a country where we could even be contemplating the idea that this would lead to legislation to keep the hands out of gun or
I
keep guns out of hands of people
I think
who, but we don't.
I think
Tens of
we
million right now.
Susan says Lawrence has a fleshy uterus. Girl, you have no idea. uh, I mean, this is almost kind of a segue into what we were supposed to be talking about, which is we were going to talk about our writing. And I cross posted Dana's grinning because she totally set that up and she's glad that I picked up on her cue.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I'm grinning because Kat wrote, I'm pretty sure my uterus shoots bullets after menopause.
Yeah,
And
that's
funny.
amazing.
So I do want to, before we shift topics, Lawrence, I did there's the mulling that happens after, right? Yesterday was just this explosion of people commenting and think pieces and watching a horrific video of Charlie Kirk getting assassinated, which my teenage daughter sent me. She was like, their videos circulate, their videos, everyone in my school is sharing them. And I was like, this was before they announced he had died. They just said he'd been shot. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, he's probably grazed on his ear or some bullshit. And I was like, oh, will you send me the video? I want to see it. And I said, what's the source? Are you sure it's real? Because teach your kids that. And she was like, it's Twitter, Mom. It's people who were at the event. And so she sent it to me, 2 videos, and I watched the first one, and it's the up close one. Like someone just had front row seats filming the event, and he says the thing, and I'm sure a lot of you watch this. Don't watch it if you don't want to see something very upsetting. He gets hit like right in his carotid artery.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that was that even real? And so I watched the second video and it's the exact same thing, but from up in the stands. And I was like, okay, that's real.
That's real.
I was like, he's absolutely already dead. Like, you do not need to be a medical professional to know that. I mean, even my daughter was like, he lost a lot of blood. He's not, there's no way he lived.
And Frederick, Frederick and Nick were both veterans, and Frederick was talking about, being hit in that spot, particularly in the carotid artery, the volume of blood that kind of escapes immediately. Yeah. Obviously, your blood pressure suddenly plummets, and your body has an adrenaline response that speeds your heart rate up. Right, your body panics and thinks, "Oh fuck, we need to beat harder," and so you actually lose even more blood because it's just. Yes, people in the chat are saying he was probably dead before he hit the ground. They absolutely said that he was at the hospital and they were operating on him, but I think the news was delayed because I agree. I don't think he actually made it to the hospital alive. Right.
And I have a few things to say about that. I watched that video several times, and I watched it because I was watching his face, and I am really hoping. Well, I shouldn't say hoping, but when you watch it, it's hard to tell. It does seem like there is a split second of a startle where he's still there. And there's a realization that something catastrophic has happened before his head tilts, I mean, frankly, like sideways, and he becomes a meat sack. He's gone.
Right.
And I want to send out a little prayer of like, may he in that flash have had a moment of remorse for what he said about gun violence.
I
really hope that there was a moment when he was still human and himself aware of the fatal hit he had just taken in front of his family who were there and his fans. He has caused immense trauma over this country indirectly, or, I would say directly from his words. But there was, and I hope he had a moment, like a prayer, a moment of clarity of like, oh, fuck. It is too big a price to pay.
Right. I hope I restacked it. God, I was up so late last night, drafting language for the 22nd Amendment that I think we should
28th Amendment.
28th. Right. 28th.
You are tired today.
I am tired. Yeah. The 27th. I have a funny story about the 27th, but we'll talk about that later.
I'm sorry. Ogre just joined and said, hi, fuck Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, fuck Charlie Kirk.
I'm so glad you're here, Ogre. Your writing gave me a lot of comfort yesterday. But go on, Lawrence. Yes,
I
have more to say.
I just told Ogre, we quoted him just a couple minutes ago. So
we did, Ogre.
His little green ears were ringing. have completely lost my train of thought because
Oh, you were writing the language for the 28th
oh,
Amendment.
oh, right. I was up very late last night, and I hope I restacked. I read something by someone that was so eloquent, and I really fucking lost my train of thought because I can't remember what
Okay. Can I
um
come back? I'll finish my train of thought and
yeah,
maybe yours will come back.
yes,
Here's what I want to talk about just for a moment, because like I said at the start, you've seen enough tragedy in the world that you're like, you know how all the voices of the different sides are going to roll out and what everybody's going to say and who's going to defend this and that. But I watched that video, and here's something that struck me like in the hours after I had my thought for Charlie Kirk's soul and retribution was, wow, the shooter, still not caught. Um, they shot one bullet.
yeah,
The immense, like, motherfucking precision to not just hit a man in the neck, the narrowest part of the body, from a distance, but to hit it on the correct side of the neck.
yeah,
In a crowd with all of these things mulling about, like, and to not, like, I don't want to get too gruesome here because it's like a collective trauma for our country. But generally, when there's a shooting, it's an AR-15 and someone is, they're just going for as much um, destruction as possible.
right,
This person, so I think that's why the word assassination feels apt here, because I want to come back to what's a killing versus an assassination. He was not technically a political leader who was gunned down,
right,
but this feels like an assassin, someone who came in, set up a like very high precision weapon, was like cold as motherfucking ice, took his one shot and disappeared. Um, and I'm also I'm a little dumbfounded that the actual videos were not censored. They were elevated. I mean, the news was sharing. It
right.
was like Faces of Death. Do you remember when those
I
movies
do,
were
I do.
were really popular? I would not watch them because I can't get visuals out of my head. Like, I will never not see what it looked like when his neck went back the wrong way, and it's traumatizing even for someone like me that doesn't give a fuck about this man's life. I can only imagine the collective trauma in that space. But how I'm just the next theories that are going to pop up everywhere, which I'm already starting to see whispers of, is was this ordered and by whom?
Right. Yeah, I
Because
mean,
how
I
many people can
started
shoot like
seeing
that?
those pretty much immediately, right? Because I don't know much about guns. There people are commenting on the chat. It sounds like they found a rifle. People are saying it was a 223.
Oh,
And Nick, whose opinion I trust because he was actually in the military and trained to use weapons, says it was a bolt action rifle, which means it was a good shot, right? Like I've written previously about how I've never really used a gun. I went up with my family to use my brother's new my brother-in-law's new AR-15, and like even I could hit targets with the AR-15 because it's just so fucking easy to shoot. Um, but it was interesting because a lot of the commentators yesterday on the news were talking about, yeah, it was a good shot, but it wasn't unheard of, right? Like a military sharpshooter, somebody who's really trained, could hit something, could do that at 500 yards, right? And this was only 200 yards, and so it's really just somebody who has training and experience with this particular kind of gun and who is a decent hunter, right? Like, you know, my brother-in-law, again, in the military, an active hunter, he could do it, for sure. Like so I think we need to, I'm not going to say we need to be careful. I just think, was it a difficult shot? Yes. But everything that I've heard from people who know guns have said it's not an impossible shot. It's not even a particularly difficult shot if you know what you're doing and have used these weapons before. So it doesn't make me think any less that there was something else going on. We started to talk about this yesterday, me and Nick and Frederick, about the idea that, it could be a false flag attack of some kind. And my brain doesn't want to go there because for several many reasons because of, just the nature of politics in this country at this moment. But yeah, I do think if liberals have been guilty of anything in these last 10, 15 years, and there's a lot, I know, but the biggest one I think is the lack of imagination about the worst case scenarios and what could actually happen. And I think if we had been able to envision worst case scenarios without censoring ourselves and saying, oh, no, no, guardrails will hold,
Right.
people are inherently good, nobody would actually try to hack the voting machines and steal an election through Starlink, satellite uplinks or whatever. If we'd actually fucking had plans for, but what if people did? Um, yeah, I think we'd be in a better place if we could imagine. And so I think uh, we should think about the idea of what if this were something that were orchestrated? What if this were just the biggest Epstein file distraction to date? So Ogre just said Kirk was eminently expendable to the regime. Yeah, that crossed my mind. Like, talk about sort of a high value target who impacts the current administration in zero negative ways. Like, Charlie Kirk's death does nothing but give them a giant martyr to
Yes.
fling around in front, against everybody else. um
Yes. What
yeah.
what drives me crazy about the word martyr, because one of my friends on Facebook immediately was like, "No, they have their martyr." And I was like, "A martyr to what? To gun violence?"
Right.
Like, that's our issue, not theirs.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
was like, "This is gonna be their," I'm blanking on the German, help me, Lawrence. The glass,
Kristallnacht.
yes, the crystal
Oh
knock.
no, I
I
think the person said Reichstag fire, and we were talking last night.
Two different ones that
Yeah, it's a
both
little more
came up.
like Kristallnacht.
Yes, both came up, and I was like, "No," and then this morning, I'm like, "Maybe." Okay, Ogre, it's so good to have you. Me laugh. What he said was, "Well, we know it wasn't Pete Hegseth, the shooter. At least we know that."
We
But
can rule one person out.
we can. Um, yeah, it's weird that the video wasn't censored because I shouldn't have seen that. I mean,
Right.
maybe I should have it because I saw it very quickly because my kid is a teenager and, teens are information spreads quickly, like in the movies, their phones all light up. That doesn't really happen like that. But like the fact that now you can still go on the internet and watch this famous person be, should we say assassinated or murdered, Lawrence? Is this an assassination?
It is an assassination. I mean, yeah, like, was he technically a politician because he held elective office? No. But was he in the political sphere, known for his political opinions and actively engaged in a form of politicking? Absolutely. Like, this is an assassination.
Yeah.
I know words have meaning and we should be technically precise, but not so technically precise that we don't let ourselves say genocide with regard to Gaza. This was an assassination. I mean,
Yeah. I'm
I was
calling
going to
it
say this
the
is a hill I'm
ironic.
willing to die on, but maybe that's not the right thing to say in this moment.
No, it's the most ironic assassination that's ever been. I'm pretty sure. Like, it's so steeped in irony. The storytelling elements are so obvious. Like I
Yeah.
said earlier, like
Oh,
it's
hey, Dana, someone's
yeah.
knocking at my door. I'm going to put myself on, I'm going to go away for a minute. So carry the chat.
Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go, you guys. It's just on me to talk about this now. I don't know about you all. Did someone earlier, I think it was you, Kat, said, "Do you feel like you have like an emotional hangover today?" And it does feel like that. You know what else we haven't even said? It's fucking September 11th. Like, it's a day we all have a residual emotional hangover. Um, and I don't want to say that there was, I'm not even going to go into intentionality of it, because I it probably was not an intentional act, but it is um, it is worrisome. It is a whole range of emotions, and we don't know what's going to come out of this. And I feel very powerless this morning. It is weird talking to this empty chair. Lawrence, come back. But it has left me worried of like, if we can't control the narrative on this, when it is so clearly not our fault, and by our, I just mean the left Democrats, like, we want sensible gun laws. We don't want to see people assassinated ever. We don't want to see guns in schools anywhere. We've been fighting for common sense gun laws in vain for so long that how are they able to take this and immediately spin it to be our fault simply because the man who was killed was reviled by the left? I woke up with a knot in my stomach of, I don't know how to undo that. I don't know how we come back where we control so little of that narrative. Lawrence, I was halfway worried that there was someone at the door like, I hear what you're saying in there.
It literally crossed my mind as I was going to the door of like,
Yeah.
speaking of irony.
Yeah, Walter. So I'm talking about like, if we can't, this is what's putting a knot in my stomach this morning. Like, I really woke up with like anxiety about this of like, if we've all already instantly lost the narrative on this because we don't control main media sources, that this is somehow the Democrats' fault because the man who was assassinated is someone we loathe,
Right.
even though we're the ones who want sensible gun laws. How do we control anything in
Yeah,
terms of messaging?
I, I have thoughts. You'll be shocked to learn.
I can't believe it.
One of which is, Walter's saying we have to be the voice of reason, and
Mhm.
we have to push for gun violence, right? Like the trope that we hear after every shooting is, thoughts and prayers, and now is not the time to politicize gun violence.
Mm.
Like, yes, it is. This is
Yeah, that's
exactly the time to make it political. And what we should do is we should push for gun reform. I think we should push for a constitutional amendment. And people will laugh at me when they hear that, probably because the Constitution hasn't been significantly amended since 1971. The 27th Amendment went into effect in 1992. Funny fact, or fun fact, the 27th Amendment is actually one of the original 12 amendments proposed to the US Constitution, 10 of which became the Bill of Rights. The 27th Amendment took 200 years to get enacted into law, which is what can happen with amendments if Congress doesn't put an irrational time frame on it like they did with the ERA. I think we need to push for a constitutional amendment. Clearly, we can't move forward in this country with the Second Amendment absolutely hamstringing us the way that it has, and the falsity of strict construction and originalism, which have made us believe that the Constitution is dead, a thing that Antonin Scalia literally said a million times in his career. When the Constitution is in fact not dead, it is a living document that has been amended 27 times. An amendment is not just built into it in Article 5, but was literally the part of the reason that the Constitution was created, because the Articles of Confederation failed after 8 years. The first documents of this country, the United States existed as a country during the Revolutionary War, and obviously for the years immediately following. It was governed for 8 of the first 10 years by the Articles of Confederation, which sucked because they couldn't be easily amended. And we absolutely need to push for an amendment that overrides the Second Amendment. And I know that's going to be hard. I know that it's going to sound like it's impossible, but if we can get enough people on board with doing this, we can and we must do it, because we can't break beyond this cycle of violence with with the albatross of the Second Amendment around this country's neck. We just can't. So that's my idea is, let's swing for the fucking fences. Let's make big moves. This is
it's the
not the
Overton
time.
window, Lawrence. It's the Overton window.
It is absolutely the Overton window. We are pulling
Okay.
the Overton window back to the left. The Constitution can and
Explain to
should be
folks
amended.
explain to folks what that means for those who are not here or
So
who are
the
not here
Overton
looking.
window is this concept that in the realm of political discourse, there are ideas that are okay, that are acceptable. There are things that are so commonly accepted that they're policy. There are ideas that are generally accepted on the right and on the left. And then there are ideas that start to become more and more fringe until they are reprehensible, right? Until they are rejected by the vast majority of people. And what the right wing has been really fucking good at for the last 40 plus years is pulling the Overton window far to the right, so that, as Ogre and a million other people have said, the current political discourse isn't a center discourse. It is a right wing discourse, because people who have been centrists for decades of their lives are now considered fringe left wing, right? Because the window has been pulled so far to the right. And so what we need to do is start proposing big fucking hairy ideas that will move the conversation back to the left. The right has convinced us that the Constitution isn't amendable. Fuck you. That's not true. It is absolutely not true in the original context of the Constitution itself. And
Right.
so we need to say, hey, the Second Amendment fucking sucks. I don't care about the commas. We're rewriting the whole thing. Let's propose an amendment. Will this Congress pass it? No. But then that becomes a reason to vote them out of office. If we say we want this amendment because we need common sense gun control legislation in this country, assault weapons and weapons of war should not be in the hands of civilians.
Charlie
And they
Kirk
say,
should not be dead,
right,
Lawrence.
Charlie Kirk should not be dead. Right. We'll call it the Charlie Kirk Amendment proposal, right? Like,
Yes. Whatever it
we should
takes.
be pushing for this. And if your local government, if your state ledge, and if your national representatives don't go for it, fucking crucify them for it when they run for reelection. Absolutely hang it around their neck that they are so short-sighted and so cowardly and so craven and in the pocket of the NRA and its Russian funders, that they are cowardly and not able to step up and amend the Constitution when we need it the most, right? Like, because without
Preach,
that,
Lawrence.
I mean, I'm going to get on a roll again. Like in the conversation yesterday with Nick and Fred, we were talking about, you know, about the founding documents, about the Constitution, and about the Declaration. And Nick just said, like, it's not the right to life they want. Yeah, but there is a right to life written into the Declaration of Independence. It's our inalienable rights. The first three: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I've said this before, and I'll say it a million more times. None of us are free when we are terrified to go to a movie theater or a campus speech or send our kids to school without the idea that any one of us could be murdered at any moment because somebody is out there with a gun, a concealed carry loaded weapon, who may or may not have mental issues. Like, let's have a conversation about mental health, sure, but not in place of gun regulation. The guns are the problem. Mental health is an exacerbating issue. Let's talk about them both. We're smart people. We can do complicated things. We can have two conversations at the same time. But if we don't have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness because we are all fucking constantly terrorized by the threat of gun death, then what the fuck are we even doing? Why can't we amend the Second Amendment? We can. The answer is very simple. We can. We were given a process by the founders on how to do it. Is it hard? Yes. Can we do it? Yes. Should we try? Abso-fucking-lutely.
Can we get any traction when when the media is in the pocket of the current regime? I'm thinking back to, go way back in time, Lawrence, like 2 weeks ago, there was what we thought was a bomb on the Capitol steps.
Right.
The
Yeah.
Epstein victims and 2 Republicans standing up with a Democrat.
3.
Were there 3 on the steps?
Oh, no, you're right. It was 2 on the steps. Yeah.
2 on the steps, yeah. Plus Nancy fucking Mace, who ran right to the president. The Democrats made my kids cry because Charlie Kirk is dead. Fuck Nancy Mace, like with a pickaxe.
Oh,
But
Cheryl, sorry. Cheryl said, I wanted to hear about writing, but I have to go. This was necessary, though. Thank you, Cheryl.
we keep
Uh,
delaying our
I,
talks about writing, Lawrence. And
I mean, news keeps happening.
we are actually talking about an article Lawrence wrote. You should put the link in there about amending the
Yeah.
Constitution if you haven't already. to go right now and for me to be like, I want to talk about like when I reemerged into dating after my long-term relationship ended, just feels so false, especially on September 11th, the day after this big assassination. Like,
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry that we haven't even,
yeah,
I think we mentioned it, but we haven't even like
I
honored the
mentioned it.
fact.
Yes. I mentioned it while you were answering the door, that today already is a day of grief and mourning. It's a quieter grief because it's been a while. Um, I didn't say much, though, and I do want to say about that before we move on from that it's September 11th, and we should acknowledge that. But what brings me, like, real sorrow on September 11th is remembering, as Gen Xers who were young adults when this happened, that for a brief moment, the country quieted. The president led us all, even though he was a president who we could not stand. There was no sense of, like, division there. For a brief time, we were united, and there was so much empathy in the air. Everywhere you went, like the grocery store, on the street, like, people checked in and were like, "Yeah, man, are you okay?" There was silence in the skies because the planes were all grounded for a day or two, and there was such a communal sense of, like, immense grief that we all shared, and it felt like, wow, we have something to unite around. And that was taken and, like, used to further and further divide us. And I probably shouldn't entirely blame the powers that be on the conservative side of the house, but I do feel like they are the ones who took advantage and sowed division there. But for a brief moment, there was this sense of peace. In our grief. I also want to acknowledge, though it's small, that Lawrence and I went to high school with someone who died in one of those towers. Lawrence didn't know her that well. She was like a friend of a friend, so I don't want to overstate my grief. But Michelle Herman, thinking about you today,
Yeah.
one of our classmates who did not get to go on and live into her 50s and see the world devolve. She was in the second building, and I remember this story, Lawrence, because you hear those things and you're like, can they just stick with you? Storytelling again. I believe her best friend from high school and I are friends on social media, and she posts about Michelle every year. So I have to think that's how I know this, but I might know it because it was written about in the press years ago. It's hard for me to remember where I learned it now, but she was in the second tower. She was working on one of the upper floors, and her mom called her and said, "Take your cell phone and get the hell out of that building." And she said, "Mom, they're telling us to stay put." And she didn't leave the second tower.
Yeah.
And I used to work in a big downtown building, and the second there was like a fire drill or anything, I would leave the building. As a result, like the rest of my life, I'm like, I am the fuck out of here. I am in the
Right.
tallest building in Seattle. Getting out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
I,
Post 9/11 trauma. Um, Anyhow, like shifting gears back, I wish I believed that this could be a moment where we all paused and said, yeah, right to free speech, right to get out there and share your political views without fear of retribution that means losing your life in like the most gruesome, not the most gruesome way possible, but in a very gruesome way.
right.
I'm all in favor of that. How could we not be? But I don't think this is going to be that rallying moment at all. I wish we had a leader who could step in and say, we're all grieving right now because a life was lost in a nuanced way of like, he led a complicated life.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we had that leader too. I wish we had a leader in the Democratic Party who I felt like could step into this moment and actually rise to the occasion. And we don't currently. And so
Yeah.
that's us, right? Like the mind numbing quote of "We are the leaders we've been waiting for. We're the ones we're waiting for." The thing that we've been
Yeah.
saying for fucking 20 years at this point. It is fucking true. Like, one of the things that I learned about participating in democratic politics is that nobody is smarter than us. Nobody is smarter or better or whatever than
Yeah.
any of us. And we can step into this moment and we can propose big ideas and we can do this. We can yell and scream about them and write about them and socialize them until people start paying attention. And when people pay attention, we can build a movement. And when we build a movement, we can actually get someone somewhere, California or Washington State or Illinois or somewhere, to, at a state level, call for an amendment to the Constitution that overrides the second, right? And once we do it once, suddenly it becomes a real news story. And suddenly they'll start covering it because they have to, because it's unique and it's something that hasn't been done in 50 years. And
Yeah.
like, I, I absolutely believe that this is the moment for us to call for and push gun control regulation and reform and a constitutional amendment that overrides the second. We have to. If we keep convincing ourselves that we can't do it because no one will go for it, then we've already fucking lost. We're just giving up.
Yeah. I'm doing this, and I didn't finish my thought from before. I'm realizing when I was starting to talk about the Epstein case that 2 weeks ago, that we watched dumbfounded as 2 Republicans and a Democrat came together to say, we need to release the Epstein files. All the Democrats are going to sign on for this. And the plea from Tom Massey of, I need 2 of my Republican colleagues to step forward and just say, we need to see these. These women are here speaking their truths. And we, once again, demanded women like rip their souls and their sense of safety out and relive their trauma for all of America to see. And we really thought it was a moment that was going to move the needle and to move minds and hearts and to get legislation through. And that it made, it was a whisper, Lawrence. Nobody saw it. Nobody heard about it. I asked my mom, who is, a liberal, but she watches TV news and blah, blah, blah. She didn't even know about it. And so, and we had Marjorie Taylor fucking Greene screaming about it. Like, she always commands the news cycle. But when right now, like, it's really like quaking me that the media is as bought and paid for as it is, which is what makes sources like Substack and what we're doing right now more important. But, we have 86 people here, and some of the bigger ones have a few thousand people, but like the scope of that is not enough. And we all know where the direction Substack is heading in. We know who's giving Substack funding. I am really concerned about okay, so yeah, let's start this movement. I love the idea of a 28th Amendment. I love the idea of trying to push the Overton window by being like, guns should be illegal entirely, no guns anywhere. And then having people go, we can't do that.
Right.
Oh, okay, but we slowly start inching it over
Right.
to where it's
Okay,
like,
well, we can't ban them completely. How about we just regulate them? Okay.
how about we have an amendment about this?
Right.
No, we can't move it. Actually, we can. You failed history because our public high schools suck now.
Right.
But actually, this is the intent. Like that messaging, I didn't even know that, Lawrence. And we went to very good public schools.
Right. I mean, I know this only because I'm weirdly interested. I mean, not weirdly, like I love science fiction and the Revolutionary War. Those are the things that I read, right? Like in the rare moments where I get bored with science fiction, I go pick up a biography of, Washington or Franklin or Hamilton or somebody, or literally read a book on the ratification of the Constitution, which I'm currently rereading now. And I'm super thrilled. I mentioned this yesterday. There's a new book coming out. Oh man, I was going to grab the link before this and, actually be prepared. It comes out on the 16th and it is literally about what I was just talking about. It is oh, here we go. So, Jill Lepore, who her name always makes me think of Amanda Lepore. Very, very different. Has an article in the Atlantic about how the Constitution is amendable and should be amended, and how we have lost the thinking around the ability to amend the Constitution because of Scalia and because of originalism and the concept that the Constitution is dead. You should read this article. I think it's free to read. I mean, I was able to read it, and I don't have a Atlantic subscription right now. And and it's fascinating, right? Because the Constitution has been amended 27 times. If you average it out, that's once every 8 years. But that data gives it lie to the fact that it actually we've gone through lots of bursty periods like this. Like the Constitution has sat sort of the amendment process has sat dormant for many decades at a time. And then usually something like a war happens, and suddenly we get the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments after the Civil War, right? Or, we get big amendments, big bursts of amendments after the World Wars and during that period. So, we can do this. The cycle that we're in of going through protracted periods of not amending the Constitution and then realizing that we need to alter things. It's been done before. We have revived the amendment process in this country many times before. And the arguments that we will hear about why not to have literally been going on since the ratification of the Constitution in 1789. So, um, I will not back down from this. This is what we need to do in this moment, in my humble opinion.
Get on Banner
And
and Backbone and start elevating this, man. Because
right, like please go to Banner and Backbone, sign up. Me and Nick and Frederick and Melissa and Shane Yurick and Jacob Summers and Ellie Leonard. We're
Walter
all going to be.
Ryan. Yeah,
Walter
I think
Ryan.
that's everybody.
Exactly. Like these are things that we need to push for. We need to
Overton
win
window.
big. Move the Overton window. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Lawrence, I think you should make a t-shirt on alpacalunch.com that's like a picture of a house and the window is all the way to the left side and it just says Overton window. And it's very like obscure, but the few people who get it,
I
although
love
then
that.
you might
No,
have the left-right problem of like, is it my left as the person wearing it or the person seeing it?
Yeah. I yeah. I love that idea. I am going to do that right after this call. And
I would love to
it
see that.
reminds me of my favorite bumper sticker. I've told you this many times before, but
Yes.
I don't think you remember. Do you remember what my favorite bumper sticker is?
Uh, honk if you love Hooters? No, I don't know.
Oh my God, yes.
I got in one. Now, what's
Yeah,
your favorite bumper sticker?
it says subduction leads to orogeny. Mm,
I don't know what that
sounds so
means.
sexy.
It does.
Yeah.
But, we have talked about this before. It's not sexy, even though it sounds sexy.
I mean, it's kind of sexy. It's geology. It means that the sinking of one continental plate under another through the process of subduction leads to the mountain building process of orogeny.
Wow.
I mean, right?
Wow.
Orogeny is a great word.
It really is. I love it.
Ooh,
All
you're
right, we have
touching
2
my
minutes left.
erogenous zones.
Yes. I have to drop Lawrence because at 8 o'clock I have to jump off and I'm joining Christina God's notes boot camp. I'm a
Nice.
graduate of Christina God's training, and I think she's wonderful. She asked me to join, and I was like, okay, I will. Briefly, because I do have to get to my workday. But I do want to give a shout out to tomorrow is Fucked Up Friday, and we have Julie fucking Roginski
Julie
coming on.
Roginski.
I messaged her last night and was like, really excited you're joining us. Do you have any questions? And it was kind of a slow news week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about. But she just wrote
Hopefully
back.
she laughed.
She just wrote back and was like, me too. So we're so excited to welcome her to the show. And please join us tomorrow, same time, same place.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. Love
Thanks.
you,
We
mean
love
it.
you. Mean it. Bye.
Bye. Mwah. Mwah.
Mwah.